Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Ethan.
And I'm Rick.
And this is Roster United, a board game podcast. We are back here this week. We have a couple of amazing segments planned out for you all. We're super exciting, right? I mean, it's just exciting stuff. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm excited. We're going to try out a new segment, and it's a pretty chock full episode. So we'll make sure we put the different stops inside the recording so you can look exactly what you're looking for. We hope you join us for the whole thing. We think it's going to be pretty exciting. And as always, make sure you give us your feedback.
Absolutely. So let's start this journey in this episode with the brand new segment called Joust. Today, in this segment, usually we talk about either two different points of view with a game or compare two games together, so on and so forth. And we're bringing our thoughts, our feelings about that sort of subject and sort of debating on it, per se. So, for example, today's Joust is Cascadia against Azul. These are the two top abstract games. Cascadia actually is number one, and Azul is number two. Over here on the other corner...
And you're talking about Board Game Geek, right?
Board Game Geek, excuse me. Yes, that's where we all see the ratings and things like that. All of that is from Board Game Geek. So, on the right corner, we have here... yourself, Rick, there we are, with Azul, presenting Azul. How you feeling?
Yeah, I'm pretty good about that. Azul is an amazing game, a quick game, just a quick overview. Basically, you're building Spanish tiles, these beautiful tiles, and you're supposed to be this designer doing this. If you ever seen like some of these classic Spanish tile works on fountains and things like that, that's what you're doing in the game. And in essence, it's an easy game. It's a lighter game. It's definitely an abstract game, but I think it stands up pretty good as one of the best abstract games out there right now.
Absolutely. On the left side, you got moi. Yes, me here, coming in with Cascadia. I think the game as well is very simple to understand, but also challenging to achieve and to really grasp that sort of strategy. Every time you play, it's going to be different. You have these tiles and animal. You have the tiles, the landmark tiles, but you also have the animal tiles out there, and you'll pick a pair of those and you'll put them in your little building tableau, and you're trying to basically make your tableau match and grow with its different sort of spaces. There's mountains and forests and fields and all that stuff that gives you more points, but also the way you put your animals on those little tiles can determine how much points you'll get, even more at the end of the game. It's very fun and very simple. And basically today we're going to be taking these two games, our thoughts on them, our experiences on them. We both played this game, and we're going to debate, I guess, here, right? Because what doesn't people like more, right? Everybody likes a good old-fashioned debate.
It is election season, but I think people are a little sick of probably the debating.
Exactly.
But this is fun debating, right? This
Absolutely.
is stuff we all want to talk about. And just to level set here too a little bit, we're not necessarily going into deep dives of the rules. We might be assuming here that you've heard of these two games before. This is just kind of more fun of doing a comparison of games. Mm-hmm. They have maybe on this particular segment some comparison. It might be two games that on the surface you don't think, why would these two be in the same ring together, right? But we'll try and point that out. But in this case, these are two very highly rated abstract games. On the lighter side, I would say. Yeah. They're on the scale of Mom likes them as far as complexity goes, and Mom doesn't really like much deep games. So that's kind of why we like talking about it. And I think they have a lot of similarities, though. Azul basically is, kind of a drafting game, right? So in the beginning of the turn of the round, you have, depending on the number of players, you have what's called these factories, and all they basically are like coasters, just cardboard coasters. Mm-hmm. You've got four of the different tiles on there. There's like 5 different types of tiles in the game that you're drawing from. They're these nice. That's what I really like about Azul, and I think takes over Cascadia a little bit. It's the components are just a little bit better. Those tiles that you're drafting feel like the little Spanish tiles. They got the little design on them. They're different colors. They're bright. It just really draws the attention. And when you're going to draft, you've got to draft all of one type. So there's these tiles that are just red. Those are the easiest to describe. They're just plain red, really shiny. If there's like two red, one of the other designs, and then the fourth tile is another design, you take the two red and you push everything into the middle. And it doesn't seem that hard, but really it's where you're going to place those things. And I love the strategic decision every time. The beginning of the round, you're kind of trying to figure out what I want to do, because when you take those tiles, you've got to place them in one of 5 rows. And the top row, you're only allowed to place one tile, and the extras go into this bottom row at the bottom of your board, and it's negative points for every one. So if you take 3 of one type, you better be able to put it in either the row that can take 3 tiles, or the row that can take 5, or the row that can take 4. And you start filling this in, and you can't mix tiles. They all have to be of one type that go in those slots. Mm-hmm. And I think that just really brings some strategy to the drafting. That's really cool. And I'll get in a little bit to when you do finally get to score those tiles at the end of your round, you're placing them kind of on, they slide over. It's kind of hard to explain without having it in front of you.
Yeah.
But basically, you're placing them into these rows where they kind of sit. At the end of the round, when everybody goes, any of your rows that are full, you get to take one of those and slide it into kind of your tableau, your permanent tableau. And you get to score those based off of how you put them together in the spatial relationship.
Yeah, that's great. But, Cascadia, on the other hand, the strategy on that, I feel, is much more, because, and honestly, it's also a little bit more even player friendly per se, because unlike Azul, right, because you have to fill that row and then you can fill that row again, on
with
another ground, but with a different tile. In this game, with Cascadia, you try to maybe aim for a certain animal or a certain habitat or a certain habitat tile, but most of the times you'll get either one or the other, right, when you pick a pair of those. But really everything that you get from that duo, even if it's something you like or not, from that pair, excuse me, you use it. It really, I've never had a certain time or turn in a game where I was like, well, I guess I could get this. No, it was like, okay, well, yeah, I want this. Maybe there was other times, well, I don't want this. I like the tile, but I could still use this animal, or I want the animal, but the tile's okay. But you know what? If I put it here, I can expand that sort of habitat tiles more and more and more to get me more points. It just feels like I can use everything that I get on my turn on the tile and still just feel like I'm making an impact on how many points I'm getting.
And that's why I like Azul more, because I think each choice matters a little bit more in Azul, especially the more you play it. Mm-hmm. You start at the beginning, you're kind of like, I'm just picking this, I'm filling this out here, I'm doing this. Kind of like you're saying with Cascadia. But when you start to play Azul a little bit more, that's where you start learning the depth. You start realizing, ooh, if I can fill these rows out and then play them to where they slide in the tableau in a certain order, I start maxing out my points big time. And if you can do that on the fly as people are stealing and taking different components, I think that planning really pays off juicily in this game. Like, I can try and set out, and if I can really, because in Azul, just to clarify, you get more points when your tiles slide over in the tableau, and you get a point for that tile in 2 ways. First off, you count any tile it touches vertically in a row, in a consistent row, up to 5. You get to count that. Then you get to count how much it touches horizontally, up to 5. So you could be scoring 10 points on a tile in later rounds, or 9 points, or 8 points, if you're kind of building this right. And I think that's where I think Azul kind of wins that part of the battle, in my opinion. How about in player interaction, too? What do you think about that for Cascadia versus Azul? Because on the surface, I think either game has kind of that basic player interaction. Like, the only way I can really mess with you on the surface in both of these games is by drafting the thing you want. Is that not right?
Yeah, I mean, basically that's what you can do. There is also the pine cones that you can get when you cover a certain habitat tile with an animal. You get a pine cone token, and those tokens let you either take a just one, or no, from the excuse me, I have to explain this a little bit because I don't, you guys don't have it in front of yourselves. But basically, there is a display. There are four habitat tiles, and then underneath that are four animal tiles, and you'll have to pick the habitat tile on the top and the animal token or tile at the bottom of it, right? So you're picking those two, that pair. With the pine cone, though, is you can pick an animal from any of the four on the display, and not have to pick the tile on top of that animal. You can pick any other tile, and you can kind of do that and mess somebody up if they wanted a certain animal or a certain tile and they just thought, oh, this is the perfect match. You can mess them up there. You can also just do the normal thing that a lot of abstract games do, is just get something before another player gets it. But the pine cone is definitely, I think, just a small thing, but it can be a big difference compared to Azul, and I think I like that a lot.
And I
Yeah.
think this is where Azul comes in with another left hook and just takes Cascadia down a little bit. Because, again, on the surface, it's the same. But in Azul, I think you can have a little bit more opportunity to get after the other players a little bit because you can see in some cases what they have to go for. Like you can see it. You can see like, oh, that five space in the last round, they only got three tiles in that five space. Or in order to score it this round, they've got to get two more of that exact same pattern. They have to. And you can either go for those before they get them, but the other thing you can do is make it so, like I said earlier, when you draft a certain amount of tiles, all the ones you can't take, all the ones that don't match the pattern you want to keep, go to the middle. And you can end up flooding the middle with one of these patterns. And what ends up happening is somebody needs that bad enough. They only need two tiles, but there's only a pile of five of them in the middle. They've got to take all five of those, put just the two, and the three go down in that negative row I was talking about. That's vicious. Or if you're really getting good at it, you start piling those suckers up and you're counting turns so that the last player has to go. And there could be like 7 or 8 blues in the middle of that row at the bottom, and they've got to take it, and they've got nowhere to put them, and that's like a huge negative point.
Mhm.
So I kind of like that player interaction. I think it's just more choice to choice a little bit
Yeah.
more. Maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I think you really have a chance to go after some people in that area.
Yeah, and in Cascadia, you kind of feel the same way a little bit because the game ends when the last tile, right? These tiles are, they're stacked right in front where everyone can see. So when that last tile hits that display, the game is over basically. So everyone knows when the tiles are going down. But what's also unique about Cascadia that I love a lot more about Azul, or then Azul, I guess you could say, is the way the scoring is. In Cascadia, you have 5 cards. Every card represents a different animal, and that card represents of that animal of how they will score. Hopefully, you guys can wrap your head around that. But basically, there's 5 different animal cards that each score differently, depending on how you place it on the map. So you can really sort of see what everyone else is playing, see their animals is kind of what you notice. You don't notice a whole lot about their landmarks, but you can tell, okay, for example, the bears, they want to be together. They're pairs, right? The mama bear and her cub. Obviously, that's very thematic, right? Obviously. So, you know, my player on the right, do they have that one bear? All right, there's a bear here. I have a bear as well. Well, let me get that. Or even I don't even have a bear. I don't have a bear, but I can put this bear before they can have a nice big pair of bears over there that get them more points. Feels like I'm rhyming really most of the time with pair and
Bear,
bear,
bear, bear, bear, bear, smoky bear.
pairs.
You can put out
I'm
force
telling
fire.
you there. But you kind of notice what other players want and you can get them, but it's not just getting them and think, well, I wasted a turn. No, there's other things that give you more points. For example, the foxes are very unique. There's certain types of scoring cards for the foxes that for every different animal that touches a fox tile or animal there is 1 point. So even if you don't need an eagle or a bear for example. You can still put it next to your fox if you have that, or if you have a fox, put it next to where you have a lot of diversive animals there and still get a lot of points. But while you're while you're, excuse me, yeah, there you go,
Diversive?
diversity.
Is that like cursive and diverse
I
together?
don't know what I'm saying, but you get what I'm saying. Everyone understands. But I just feel like you kind of see what everyone else has what they want because everybody scores the same way.
And I think that's where Azul's better. Because again, you're just tied every time to whatever cards come out. And Azul, you can make up it as you go. The tiles can make that up as well.
Cascadia.
But you can't ignore those scoring cards.
Yeah, but you can pivot
to another scoring card. That's it.
But Azul, it's kind of the same. Well, I'll put it here and
1, 2, and then
I'll 1, 2 up here.
I think you got more flexibility in Azul.
Cascadia has a lot more.
What if I want to do bears? I feel like coming into, but you can if the scoring cards aren't bears.
They're each has to be one animal card type.
So there's the same every time.
No, actually, that's the best part. Cascadia has.
So let's pivot. Before you get into that, let's pivot into. We're getting into another area. I wanted to replayability. Yeah.
I'll go first on this. Cascadia, I feel, has the most replayability because of the cards.
I'm just kidding. I love Cascadia. I'm just clarifying that. Yeah.
Wow. Because of the cards, the animal cards that are out there, there's 4 animal cards. There's 4 cards for each animal, and they're both double-sided, giving you different options. Each of them are from a grade of easiest to score to, a little bit more challenging, and you can change these up however you like. You don't have to play all of them on the B side, for example.
It's a B-side game, though.
No, it's not. You suck. Anyway, look, there's a whole lot of different sort of ways of scoring that make the game very unique, even if it's sort of the same sort of idea. It's not really.
It's very samey.
For example, the bears, sure you can get a pair and get some points. If you get like 3 pairs, you get like 15 points. That's pretty, whatever. That's pretty good. But if you flip it to the B side, instead of getting 2 pairs of bears, you could try to get 3 bears together in a certain section, but they have to stay away from another pair of bears.
I think you should lose because you have to say the word bears 50 times just to describe.
I'll switch to the eagles, and the eagles they're more solitary, right? They don't want to be around other.
They're in their Hotel California.
So, there you go, exactly. So one of them is over here across the other map. The other is on the right side, and you're trying to get points like that. It's just the different ways of scoring. You can always change it, and of course. What the placement of the dials or of the tiles, excuse me. I know it is very similar to probably Azul as well, but even the replayability of what's out there is always different. But the cards and the scoring is always changing. Plus, Azul doesn't have an expansion, right?
Azul does not have an expansion.
It doesn't have an expansion. I know. I didn't want to play that card just yet.
Yeah, but we're not talking about expansions. We're talking about base games here.
I know.
Azul has 2 other games.
I get that.
Cascadia doesn't.
Because it doesn't need it. It doesn't need 3 different versions of itself.
Because it's
Cascadia
boring.
Is perfect.
You're answering my question. There's no way to expand beyond the
system.
Cascadia
is on the top 50 for a reason.
Azul sold more. Anyway, we're getting into picky stuff now. Azul is more.
Debate,
I think Azul is more replayable though because it has less variables than Cascadia does. I'll give you that with the scoring cards.
Absolutely. Which makes the game more replayable.
But it lets you flex every time. It's different every time because the setup is different every time. The way those tiles come out of the bag and set up round and round is also different every time. Also, you can, that's kind of, we've talked about the base side where it kind of already tells you. If you play on the gray side where you can line those up however the heck you want, now you've got infinite combinations, infinite ways to attack that, and infinite ways to go after your opponents as well. And they have ways to pivot. So I just think the replayability of Azul. I think, to be clear,
we both
good abstract games, by nature, in my opinion, are pretty darn replayable. That's why checkers and chess have been around forever. They have very basic rules with a lot of variations in how you play those things, and that's why they're good. So both games are extremely replayable for that reason. You can't really, and I'm probably going to say something, and somebody who's listening to the podcast is going to laugh about this, but it's hard to solve some of these, and that's something else to talk about. you can't really. There might be a best way to play Azul. I'm not a Azul grandmaster by any means, but I do think Azul's also made a lot more money than Cascadia, and Azul's at Target a lot more. And
So is Cascadia.
Azul 3 games, and Azul Duel, by the way, was just announced,
Oh, good.
which is a 2-player Azul, which I heard is not just Azul for 2 players. It's really Azul, like it's made just to play with 2 players because of the way the draft works. And that leads me to the last point that I want to bring up here is I also think Azul is better at multiple player sizes. I think it's good at 2, it's good at 3, and it's good at 4, and it plays just as quick. And it's not really that bad because all that scoring and everything you're doing on your own, it's just the drafting piece. And I think it's just better than Cascadia. I think Cascadia plays better with a little bit bigger player count, but at 2, it's a little more boring.
I don't agree. First and foremost,
Well, you don't know what you're talking about.
first and foremost,
you already lose because
know,
if you do not agree with me, that already shows you're going the wrong path.
Okay, I see. All right. Well, I don't think the overall of 48 on the top 100 is,
It's been out longer. Every game.
No, it's not. Cascadia's been out since 2021. Azul's been out since 2017.
Right. Azul's been out longer.
Exactly.
Right. Well,
and Azul is 79.
That's why that.
Using
the board, no, but everybody knows that a board
bomb,
game geek game eventually starts rolling itself out.
Yeah, Azul will roll itself out of the 100 before.
Puerto Rico used to be the #1 game forever on Board Game Geek, and now it's like not even the top 100. Well, everybody remembers it, but now it's not even the top 150 because that algorithm is using like recent plays. And sure, it's not Cult of the New, and people, eventually move on to other stuff, and slowly people. Or number 2, everybody's rated Azul already. There's no more ratings left to put into it. So, let's look at that.
If Cascadia,
how many ratings do we have of each?
Here we go. Yes, Cascadia destroys, Azul destroys Cascadia with the most view.
That means more people have played it. End of story.
That's fine.
The ref comes out with the judge's card, and by TKO, Azul just takes down Cascadia, sends him home crying to his mama, like Mike Tyson took out whoever the heck he was fighting when he was 20.
Yes. Feel bad for the guy that. I don't know. Was it
all
him?
of them? Anybody.
Anyway.
Anybody he
No, but look, point was, it's not even that. Think about this. Sure, maybe more people have rated Azul. And the reason is that Azul still can't even beat Cascadia, even with so many. If a lot of people really enjoy the game.
It's because that algorithm, the algorithm is weighted towards recent ratings. And that's the problem.
The average rating
everybody in the world went out and played Azul and rated it because they were so dang excited, and it shot up. And now it's just slowly, because no one else is going to go re-rate Azul.
True.
And they're both.
Yeah, but even so, and going back to some of the points you mentioned ago, because I would like to talk about that too, was when Cascade, when I play Azul. And I've played Azul a lot of times. You've played Azul a lot of times. We play it with families and friends a lot of times.
You still do.
Sure, because no one understands no one understands how to play an amazing game.
I do, and I play Azul.
Whatever. But what? See, when I play Azul, though, it feels like I'm playing the same game over and over again. It almost feels like I really know the same strategy. And if you go for it, you do it again, and you do it again.
And just to clarify, right, when we play, you never win. So maybe if you actually
I don't win because Mom gets the same strategy and scores 120 points or something stupid like that, and just destroys. Not saying... I'm not judging
Mom.
about this
I
game.
beat Mom.
I've beaten Mom too, actually, a couple of times. But that doesn't mean that I diss the game. It doesn't mean that I hate the game, though, simply because I don't win. It's not about that. It's simply because it does feel like I'm playing the same game over and over again. With Cascadia, at least the scoring is a little bit different. When you place the tiles, it's a little bit different. When you have more people, or even less people, you can play Cascadia by yourself, and I still had so much fun and joy with it. With 2 to 3 players, or even I believe it's up to 4 players. I've played with all those. I've played with that many people around the table, and it was even more challenging to play. And it was more exciting because it was like, all right, well, I want this section, but you definitely know that after 3 rounds, it's going to leave. So you're trying to do the best you can with what's out there on the display, with how it scores and things like that. And some of the scoring is insane. So I just think Cascadia's replayability is amazing. I think it doesn't feel like the same old tile placement thing. It feels different.
It's just tile placement.
That's what abstract
Cascadia's
games
tile
are.
placement.
They're all like that. That's right.
It's tile placement where it tells you how to play each game.
Absolutely.
And Azul is not that way. It lets you play free, lets you play how you need to, lets you attack the other players. It's the better game.
And think about that times 100. Anyway,
that's our first
we'll end it there.
Joust. Yeah, the one last quick jab I'll get in there is Azul has way better components, hands down. You can't beat the components in Azul.
Sure, but Cascadia has beautiful artwork.
Of cardboard stuff. It does have really good artwork.
Has beautiful art on the cardboard, which, by the way, you said stung. So there you go. There's a plus. And great tokens and just great cards, qualities, and all that kind of stuff. So definitely check out Cascadia. And forget about Azul. Anyway, let's move on. Oh, you know what? Before you move on, I'd like to know all of your guys' opinion out there that are listening right now. What do you think? Is Cascadia better or is Azul better? If you think Cascadia is better, then, I really like you a lot. If you think Azul is better, if you're subscribed, I like you a lot, but I won't like you as much as the ones that.
Whatever. We like everybody.
I'm sorry.
Both games are great. You should play
yes.
both games. They're fantastic
everybody.
additions to your collection. They have a lot of replayability.
Absolutely.
Of course, we're doing this just more to kind of broaden. This is discussion topics, but we will put a survey in to see if who likes.
Absolutely.
Let's see what the audience says.
Yeah. What do you think?
Please vote and share the podcast with everybody. I keep plugging that. Please give us a like. Please give us a subscribe. Those things matter. We're hunting for them. So
absolutely. Well, that was our first ever Joust. Very exciting, very cool and intense, and we're only gonna get better after this one. Absolutely. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's go to our next section. Let's talk. And today's Let's Talk board game review. We have The Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle-earth. This is one of the hottest games coming out here ever since we saw this at Gen Con, right? It was on the display. People were playing it, playtesting it. Just the joy and just sort of the nostalgia of being in that Lord of the Rings world that a lot of us love and enjoy, from the book to the movies. How did they put this all basically in an awesome board game, in a Seven Wonders Duel style board game, which, by the way, Seven Wonder Duel is a very popular game. A lot of people have played it, have reviewed it. Here on Board Game Geek, it's definitely in the top 100 or top 50, excuse me, I should say. And it's just crazy. And now they just came out with a brand new, not just a different theme, but also it adds some different things with Lord of the Rings Duel. So can you give us a little rundown, maybe, if about how it plays?
Yeah, and a quick plug for our YouTube channel that we started out, Roster United on YouTube. We do one of our 90-second-ish video rundowns of the game. Just give you a quick overview of the game. Like you're in a store and you want to hear something real fast about it. We're trying to put more and more of those out. So please join that, subscribe it. Go ahead and send us any games you'd like us to cover. We're going to try and stay ahead of some of the newer games coming out, or games that maybe you're in a Target and you just need a quick rundown. Is this game good for me? We want to try and add that. But yeah, Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle-earth, it is a dual game, so it's for exactly 2 players. It says 10 and up on the box and plays in about 30 minutes according to the box. I would say after your first play, that's about right. So basically in Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle-earth, what you're doing is you're just drafting cards. If like I said, this is an extension or a re-implementation of Seven Wonders Duel. Both games are by Antoine Bauza and Bruno Cathala, great game designers. In Seven Wonders Duel, and in this game, the similar. Basically, the main core of the game is drafting. So you're taking turns drafting cards for each other. Against each other, and those cards are laid out in different patterns, round to round. There's 3 rounds of the game, and basically it's the Free People of Middle Earth, the Hobbits, and the Fellowship of the Ring against Sauron and his forces. And basically the way you can kind of win this game is there's a couple of different concepts, just like you would expect in the movie. There's kind of the ring track in the middle, and that's basically the Free People trying to move Frodo and Sam all the way to Mordor. So you can draft certain cards with ring icons on them that will move Sam and Frodo along this track. If you can get to Mordor at any time during the game, you automatically win. On that same track, though, and I thought this was kind of ingenious, so many spaces behind Frodo and Sam are the Nazgul. And again, if the Sauron player drafts a ring card, they get to move that Nazgul up. But here's the cool part. The Nazgul starts so many spaces behind Frodo and Sam. I don't know if it's like 6 or 7. It's a little far back. And he can move up and get closer within 3 or 4. But whenever Sam and Frodo move, that whole track moves. So they never get ahead of the Nazgul player. If he gets within 4, he stays within 4. They just get closer to Mordor. So that kind of keeps really that neat tension going. I thought that was a brilliant little concept. So if the Nazgul player focuses on that, he's going to get so close and stay so close for the rest of the game. The other way is you also have a map of Middle Earth. There's like 7 or 8 different famous areas, Gondor, Moria, different areas on the map. You have ways of drafting cards that let you play soldiers to those maps. If you control all 7 areas, or you have a presence, I should say, of all 7 areas, and I'll get into why I say presence, you can also win the game automatically that way. And I say presence because on each section of the map, you've got 2 different areas. You've got a place for soldiers that you can go on, but you also have this place where you can kind of plant like a castle or like a fortification. And the way you do that is by completing certain larger missions at the top of the board. So you have to have so many symbols in front of you, and that's how you complete those. And I should probably clarify that. Every time you draft a card, you place it in front of you, and it builds on each other. Some of these cards you have to pay money for in order to get them. Some of the cards, just like in Seven Wonders Duel in the original Seven Wonders game, you can just get them for free if you had a card like a precursor card from a previous round maybe, or talks about it. The other types of cards that you can do is you can draft green cards, which kind of replace the science cards in this game, and those give you access to the different races of Middle Earth and will give you bonuses like for the elves or for the dwarves, and let you do special things, maybe draft an extra card in a round. That's another one. There's other ones that give you symbols so that you can draft other cards. Similar to the resource cards like gold and everything in the original Seven Wonders. If you ever had to play that, you can draft money cards that just straight up give you money. You can draft cards that will let you place warriors on the map. So those are kind of some of the different things that you can do. So if you can either conquest that map, if you can get the support through the green cards of all the races, which is very hard, or you can get that ring quest completed, you will automatically win the game. The one complaint I've heard some of the games is if no one completes all of those, you go to the map, and whoever has the most presents wins. Yeah. And some of these games end in ties. And there is no tiebreaker according to the rules of the game. So I heard someone say, hey, the Sauron player, because it's Sauron and he's dominating, if there's a tie, the Sauron player wins. I've heard of that. But anyway, that's a little bit of a rundown, kind of I can see a lot of talking there. But, kind of what you feel about the game. How did you like it?
Well, I really enjoyed it. So now that I'm older, right? I'm not really a huge fan of Seven Wonders. I'm not really a huge. I liked Seven Wonders Duel more than actual Seven Wonders. But just the sort of system, I don't know, it didn't stick. But I think with the theme of this, with Lord of the Rings, kind of helped me kind of get reeled into to sort of how this game is played with its drafting. I love this game. I'm just going to say it flat out. I really enjoy this game a lot. I love that you're trying... There's a lot of different things to do. Do you get the resources? Do you get the cards that contain the different races of the world? Do you move up on the track to get closer to the mountain? Or do you move that what's that horsey guy?
The Nazgul?
There you go, the Nazgul horsey guy.
I'm editing that
out. I swear to God, I've seen the movies.
Horsey
I promise
guy.
you.
You just automatically lost all credibility. You should just go sit in the corner. I should send you to the corner right now.
I'm a grown man.
For that comment, you should be
the Nazgul.
35 years old.
I'm so sorry. The Nazgul, Mr. Horsey Nazgul here. You can move him as well along to the track. You can also uh, you can get cards to play more knights on or more of your people on the board as well to get more control of those locations. There is a lot going on, really, and it all just
But it's
depends.
simple,
But
though.
it's simple, yeah. There's a lot going on, but you kind of go with what's already out there, and what's out there are very limited options, right? So it doesn't overwhelm you with all this. Like other Euro games, where it's like, oh, well, I got, there's 50 different things you can do, 50 different ways of scoring. In this one, there's 3 different ways to win the game. There's there's limited cards. It's just getting cards, right? It's just what kind of cards do I get? And I really like that because when you're playing this game, you'll some of the cards are face down, right? So when you take a card, whatever's covering it will be flipped over, and now those are available. So it's kind of that little surprise and sort of anxious to know, okay, I want to get this card. I don't really want it, but I just want it so you can get this card, and then you can flip up the other two, and
And
things
that's
like
the
that. And
other
that's the
key, right?
strategy
That's the
with it.
strategy, and that was the same in
I
Seven
love
Wonders
that.
Duel. And I know what you said about Seven Wonders, though, but I digress a
Probably
little
have to
bit. But
play
I
it.
think you need to play it again as you're older, and I know why, because I've seen you play the app, and you love the app of
The
Seven
app is,
Wonders,
yes, interesting.
and it's just we played it when you were young. But what you said about the card drafting, that's the thing here.
That's cool.
Drafting's always a cool mechanic, in my opinion, because you play in Blood Rage, play in some of these other games. You're constantly, it's, I really want this card, but I think he really wants wants this card. If I don't take it, I'm giving it to him or I'm passing it around. But like you said, this adds, and Seven Wonders Duel does this too. This adds that other layer of not only is there 2 cards I could take, and I want one, and I know you want the other, but depending on which one I take, like you said, not only do you flip those cards, you're unlocking other cards.
Yes.
So now I'm unlocking these cards. Now you have access to more cards, and I really want to protect this card, but if I don't take this card I want, you're going to have to take it, and I'm losing out on it. And that's what's just always been beautiful about Seven Wonders Duel, and really it's about Lord of the Rings Duel. It just continues that. I think where this also improves upon Seven Wonders Duel a little bit is I think it's a lot smoother of a game. Seven Wonders, you were tracking a few things in there that got a little fiddly in Seven Wonders Duel, I thought. Not much, a little bit. This, to me, just removes all of that. This is, other than that board, even then, I mean, just even the board and the armies, there's nothing really to that. That track with Sam and Nazgul, the horsey guy, that's there's nothing
Thank
really.
you for making that clear to the audience, by
as
the way.
you called the horsey guy, not
to the audience, for people who don't know,
yes.
who haven't.
Ethan called it the horsey guy. So yeah, all that stuff is so easy to follow in this game. And I just think it's really, really smooth.
Yeah, I think the only complaint that I have, though, is sometimes, and again, it's kind of the part of the strategy, but what kind of cards are being flipped and the timing on that. Sometimes it just happens because it's just bound for you to get another card, and then that flips it up, and then, oh wait, that's your 6th race card. Oh well, you can take it, and then you automatically win. Or I think, and another complaint I did kind of noticed as well, that you mentioned at the beginning of the segment, was that when you have something of yourself, of your player, present in one of the 7 locations, you automatically win. I was not a huge fan of that because there's some of the towers that you can buy out there that give you a lot of bonuses and things like that. Those can't really be destroyed. So, and this isn't really sort of a war game, where you're fighting over locations. It's not really like that. It is a little bit, but it's not really the whole big theme of it. And it's just like you have 7 and automatically you win, right? It's like I don't know,
but
sometimes that's like,
that
really?
Never happened.
It happened
at the very end because I underplayed it and you played it. Now that's the point of this, though, right? Is like I was really going for the races, and some of this too in these kind of games. You've got to play them a few times to know what cards can come out win. Yeah. Right? You got to be able to plan for that, and you just can't the first couple times you play it because you don't know. You have to experience it, and I was really pushing hard, and I thought, and I got a huge lead on you in those green race
Yeah.
cards. I was missing like one, and the thing just would not come out. And I neglected to defend the battlefield because, to be
Yeah.
clear, I think you can't get all 7 towers. Like you said, those towers
No,
can't be hampered. That ain't true though. There are a couple purple cards that will let you remove a
they
tower.
will.
Yes,
Okay.
there were a couple in there that
But
we just never
sometimes
got to.
it's too late and you already have a
Well,
lot of
but
presence out there.
but I think that's the
It's tough.
beauty of it. I don't think you can. No one, if you want, you can stop anybody, right? You
Sure.
can't just end run something.
Yeah.
I can decide, okay, I'm not going to let you get any further on the map. Now I'm giving up other stuff,
Mhm.
but that's the whole point of this game. That's why there's 3 tracks. But those cards that give you the towers at the top, you need a lot of resources for them.
Yeah.
And when you take that action to take one, you're not pulling a card. You're
Mhm.
losing a card off the draft. So I don't know. I don't think we ever got close to somebody getting all 7 of those up top. You would need so many resources. There wasn't even not even close to doing
Yeah.
that.
I remember I had at least 2 towers.
You had 2,
and I had
not
but I had
7.
presence on everything else.
And if you remember, it came down to
And I
one card.
automatically
If
won.
you would have pulled the wrong card, I would have got the
Yeah.
better card, and I would have been able to destroy some of your
Mhm.
forces. And I came close earlier in the game to having a presence of 7.
Mhm.
And then you flipped the tables on me. I just thought that back and forth is really, really cool.
You're kind of playing 3 games in one.
Always. That's
right?
what's the beauty of the
You're right.
game.
Yeah, because it is kind of a tug of war in 3 different sections, right? Even with the ring, you're trying to advance that, but like you said, right, Mr. Horsey Man, he's got to run along with him as well. So it's just kind of neat. It's the tug of war sort of thing. You're trying to do what's best on your options. You're fighting 3 different wars per se, and I just think the game it is well balanced. I
It
will
is.
say that.
It has, even though it's smoothed out, even more smooth than Seven Wonders Duel. I think the tension is still there.
Mhm.
You feel it in
Oh,
every
absolutely.
from the very
Absolutely.
first card you draft.
Mhm.
You feel this tension. Like
You're already
you,
making calculations in your mind.
I can see you taking a card that gives you a resource, and there's a card that because you have that resource, you can get it for free.
Mhm.
But I can steal it and kind of make you waste that resource and pay a couple coins and take it from you. I mean,
Mhm.
you feel it from the
That's
beginning
true.
of this
Absolutely.
game. And I just love it. I think the replayability's high
Yes.
because again, those cards, if I remember right, they don't all come out
They
every
don't all,
round.
I believe there's 2 or 3 cards that
From
just
each
don't
round
fit
that don't come
that
out.
round.
Yeah, you only play so many.
So you don't know what it could be a race card.
Exactly.
It could be one of the green cards.
But beyond that, I don't know if you mentioned it a little bit, is when you lay out that pattern, and each pattern's different. When you lay out that pattern, you're shuffling that deck, so obviously they come out in different orders. There are some are face up, some are face down, so you never know which ones are going to come out and win. And I think the replayability on this is so high.
It is.
And even though you can play it quick too, that's the best part about this game. You can kind of feel like it's tough because we play so many new games sometimes. You feel like you can master this because it's so short.
Yeah, absolutely. And another little neat thing too is the quality of the game is really good. The cards feel great. The the little wood pieces, your little guys feel fantastic.
The meeples.
There you go. The meeples, the towers, they all feel great. The cardboard's great as well. Even the little track that slides on top of the other cardboard track, that also is really well. I love the tokens as well. They did a really good job with just
the insert is fantastic.
The artwork is amazing.
I was going to mention that.
The artwork is so
Vincent
cool.
Detroit artwork, baby.
It's amazing.
Vincent Detroit, just some of the best artwork in board games. If you ever play any of the Vital Lacerdas, he does a lot of his artwork.
He's amazing.
Especially for the big games he does with Eagle Griffin.
And what's real neat,
beautiful.
And it really is. And what's really neat that I didn't notice after playing like one or 2 times the game is that there are certain cards that every card has their own art, which is amazing, right? Beautiful artwork. If you put this card with another card, they kind of line up and they make a full portrait. And it really goes through this whole story about like some caves. They're in the caves, and then there's this huge war, and there's fire and ice, and it's crazy how the artwork goes together. You don't notice it unless fortunately you have it next to each other. But It's just so cool. Everything about the game thematically as well. They did such a great job. It really is in its own way a perfect game. It really is. So now we come to the point, or do you have another point
No,
to
I'm good.
say?
I'm
All
good.
right. Well, let's move on then to everyone's favorite sort of little mini segment within the segment is high or low on Board Game Geek. The rating for Lord of the Rings Duel for Middle Earth is 8.6. Really high.
That's really
Oh my
high.
god, that just
It's
so you know, that's as
amazingly
high as
high.
Arc Nova.
Yeah.
Do you think that's high or low? Are you going high or
I
low?
can't think of a negative thing to say about this game. Um, you get a full experience in a box in 30 minutes. But I don't feel, I mean, the strategy's there, the depth is there, the fun factor's there, the replayability's there. I feel like I can take this to the coffee shop and play it as long as I'm going to sleeve those cards. But I'd have to say, I mean, that sounds about right to me as far as how board. But I mean, I'd give it a 10. I mean, to me, it's just it's almost a perfect game. I mean, and when I rate games 10, it's not like it's got to be this perfect 3 hour epic game. Like I reserve for me, it's like does the game what kind of fun factor does it give me for what it is? And to me, this maximizes that
Wow,
potential
a
for
10.
the cards it has, for
Mm-hmm.
the gameplay, for the strategy, for the time you get. I don't know if there's a game better for a 30-minute game in a box for all the things I just mentioned. I don't know if there's a game better.
Wow, that's crazy. Our first ever 10, by the way, here at Roster United. That's amazing. I have to give this game. I think it's higher. I think it's higher than an 8.6. I'm going with a 9. I think this game is phenomenal. I think it's easy to play or easy to really understand. I think the concept of it is amazing. They do a great job thematically. The insert, I know this is so small, but the insert of where the cards go, how all the tokens are nicely placed, nothing flies all over. Because I'm kind of
I love a good insert.
I
I'll
do, and
compare.
they did a
We're
great
going to
job with
review
it.
this next week, but Black Forest. Black Forest is a cool Uwe
Well,
Rosenberg game. The insert is just one of those stupid little dividers in a box. Now, I give them credit. They give you a ton of baggies.
they do,
But man, I love
but
me a
yeah,
good insert where everything just
absolutely.
fits and I can put it back.
And Lord of the Rings has that.
And I
Gameplay
don't need a
wise,
college degree to figure out how the game goes back in the
there
box.
you go. And just this game is just amazing. You can also play it in a very short time. I mean, it doesn't even feel like we played it for 30 minutes after a couple of times playing it. That last time we played it, for me personally, it felt like we played it less than 30. I mean, it was quick. It was easy. It's not really all that complicated. I really enjoyed it. I really did. I guess the only sort of negative thing is just depending on what comes out and the timing of it. I know that's how the game is. I know that's how it's designed. It's just simply, even if it's on purpose or not, just the cards that flip, you automatically get it, or you move up that track or whatever, you instantly win. It's not like, and that makes sense. I get it. I get it. But it's just, I guess that sort of part I didn't really like a whole lot. But still, a 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 for you. That is amazing. We definitely recommend this game. If you want a little quick overview, you don't have to scroll back on this episode. You can actually go to YouTube to our YouTube channel, Roster United, and you can see our 90-second overview of Lord of the Rings Duel. So we really enjoyed this game, our experiences with it. We hope you guys can get a copy of it and tell us what you think. Or if you played this game, tell us your opinions on it. Did you like something we said, or do you maybe disagree on a point or two? We want feedback as well. We want interaction. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is it with the Let's Talk. We just have just one little thing for you all, super, super small, just to keep you all up to date, is what's around the board, right? News around the board here. Simply, we're just going to take 1 or 2 minutes and just go through some little things here. For example, um, if I can get it on my screen here, I had
We're
it all
talking
set
about
up.
little news,
Little
tidbits,
news.
maybe some things about some
Exactly.
upcoming Kickstarters that we're keeping an eye on.
Exactly.
Just some other things that are talking about in case you're listening to this thing live as we put it out.
Absolutely. So, for example, for all of you, just to keep up to base here, there is a brand new two-player game called Mad Calla. Excuse me, Matt Calla. It's a two-player game, 15 to 30 minutes. It is inside the world of World
Wonderland's War.
Wonderland Wars. Matt,
Yeah,
excuse
if
me.
you know the
Yeah.
Wonderland's War game, it's a really beautiful game, kind
Mm-hmm.
of a area control battle type game. Not like this crazy war game, but
Mm-hmm.
a little area control game set in the Wonderland universe. Um, this game is by the same company and it's set inside that exact same universe. Kind of like an actual, kind of like a card game that is played, I believe, in the universe. And you're kind of, or like a party that Mad Hatter has, and you're kind of playing that out.
Mm-hmm.
The Cheshire Cat's taking this over, and you're trying to kind of win it back.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of what I know. It looks like the same beautiful art
Mm-hmm.
components that's in Wonderland's War, and this thing's about to kick off. So looking forward to
Absolutely.
that.
So not diving in too much into it, but it looks really amazing. Definitely something newer compared to Wonderland's War. Something we have to keep an eye on too. It just came out. I believe it just came out. It has 15 days to go from today's recording. Right. Today is Wednesday, October 23rd. So 15 days to go. Plenty of days to think about it, to look through, and see if you want to pledge it. That's one of the bigger news out there. It's
Yeah,
this
one of the
game.
other ones I would like to talk about real quick. I know we were keeping this tight, but the Leader Games just came out yesterday with their
Mm-hmm.
new Root Kickstarter. We're a big fan of Root here in the house. If you're not familiar with Root, it's definitely an area control game. You're playing different factions of woodland creatures of various types and groups. Like the main two are like the cats versus the birds, kind of classic. What's beautiful about this game is each faction truly plays different. You have the cats, which kind of your historic, just simple, build things, expand, control. But the birds, for example, they play a completely different way. The way they have to play the cards and things, and then you'll have the river folk, and they can actually be mercenaries, and they get points for fighting battles for other people. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just crazy. I can't even describe it all,
It's
but
amazing.
it's amazing. So this is their, I believe, their third expansion or fourth expansion of the Root universe, the fourth one. This one's their biggest one. They're coming with 3 new factions, which is really cool. They're actually, some of these factions are based off of like doing peaceful things, trying to stop the war, and you can win by doing those kind of actions, which is just cool
Mm-hmm.
concepts they're coming up with
It's really
this.
neat.
It also comes with 3 factions, which is their biggest. Usually it's two, and then 2 new maps as
Yeah.
well. Those maps
This is
play
their biggest
differently.
expansion.
Yeah, so the main map that comes in Root, is just kind of the forest with paths to different areas that you're trying to control. They have one of the expansions came with a lake, and there's a ferry, and you can take that ferry to just cut across the map in an
Mm-hmm.
unexpected way, and that ferry stays there. So they're adding 2 new maps with this. They're also adding different ways to add mini factions in, which they call hirelings. It just looks great. Big fan of Leader Games. Big fan of Root.
Yes,
Big
absolutely.
fan of Cole Weirley, and he's the guy who designed Arcs that we've talked about so much, and he designs a lot of the games that we really like here. So
Mm-hmm.
give Root a check out there.
Absolutely.
If you haven't played it, totally recommend it. Their app is top notch. We've talked about that. So anyway, just love Root, and again, looking already back that Kickstarter.
Absolutely. Also, a little, just quick little detail here is that in 22 hours, the Nature board game is going out of Kickstarter. It's been funded already. Nature is basically the redesign of the Evolution board game. Beautiful artwork, looks
Gorgeous
amazing.
artwork.
Basically, in Nature, it's a 1 to 6 player board game where you are trying to basically make different species and giving them different traits to survive the wild. That's what you're doing. The artwork looks amazing. The game looks amazing. So make your decision really quickly here because it'll be gone in 22 hours. It's already been funded
And
like
this is
a
11
thousand
p.m.,
percent
so you basically got until about 10 o'clock Eastern United States time to
Thursday.
back that tomorrow,
Thursday,
Thursday the
the
24th.
24th. Absolutely. So stay tuned to that. Or if not, at least well, it's funded. So, hey, just wait a couple of months or a year and you can see this game in your local board game store. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's just a little bit of news around the board, and also the end of this episode. Excuse me, for the podcast today. we hope you enjoyed today's episode. Just a little recap. We did a joust. We went through Cascadia versus Azul.
Azul
Cascadia is
was the clear
better.
winner.
Absolutely. Cascadia is amazing. And then we talked about Lord of the Rings Duel of Middle Earth. 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10. Very high scores. We recommend it. And of course, a little bit of news and tidbits out there from different sort of Kickstarters out there. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we hope you enjoyed today's episode. We're super excited to have this privilege, obviously, being here. Please give us a like, give us comments, tell us your opinions about the games we've talked about today. Hit us up on Blue Sky as well at Roster United podcast. There we post all kinds of things, games that we're playing, mostly opinions and all sorts of stuff, and also updates about the channel and about our podcast as well. Check us out on YouTube, Roster United. We're still trying to figure out how we can, what's sort of the idea going into it. We'll obviously try to get better every single episode. We have 2 episodes out now, just a couple of 90-second overviews on a couple of games. With Lord of the Rings Duel and Stamp Swap as well. So we hope you enjoy those, and tell us what you think. Leave us a comment and a like, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and of course here as well on Roster United, a board game podcast. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's all the announcements and everything. This is the end of the episode. Thank you so much for listening. I am your host, Ethan.
And I'm Rick.
And we'll see you on the next one.
Adios.